Yeah, you will have to stop. Yeah. Samit, you are there? Yeah, Samit, you will have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I've done that. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So our next speaker at the conference is Samit Roy Chaudhary. Now, Samit is author of Great Indian Railway Atlas, which is now moving into its fourth edition. It's perhaps the only initiative of its type anywhere in the world where a rail enthusiast has worked upon creating an atlas of a network which is as huge as that of Indian Railways. He is an alumnus of the prestigious National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, and of the Mayo College, Ajmer, both very, very prestigious institutes of India. He is currently an independent design consultant based out of Kolkata, providing web and graphic design solutions. He has also been teaching at the Design Fundamentals course at the Bhawanipur Design Academy since 2004. His fascination with railways started at a very young age and has continued right through. He is a long-time member of the Indian Railway Fan Club and now the Rail Enthusiast Society. He collects models as well as other railway memorabilia. Now, since we have a bit of time, I would also like to speak a bit about his atlas. Now, as I said, it's a first of its type initiative by any rail enthusiast. It includes detailed series of maps of one of the largest railway systems with accurate track alignments, up-to-date information on track status and facilities. Now, remember what makes it a great effort is he is not an official part of the Indian Railways. And despite that handicap, he has been able to create this atlas, which is now on its fourth edition. Now, all the sections are referenced by a locator map, accurate alignments and locations. Now, this atlas has approximately 12,000 locations, including existing and closed stations, sidings, control locations. All have been indexed with the station codes. Facilities like loco sheds, electric, diesel, steam, EMU, DMU car sheds, freight yards, goods sheds, container terminal, accident relief train locations, you name it. Everything is marked on the maps. Also included is a rail fans map, which has locations with railway museums, galleries, heritage parks, railway locations under the UNESCO World Heritage Site, as well as print, plinth, and the preserved locomotives. So, you can't have a more better resource on this vast network of Indian Railways than Atlas. And today we are happy that Samit agreed to speak on how the Great Indian Atlas came to be and how it has developed over the years. He will also dwell upon the challenges that he faced as a designer. Samit, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vikas, for, I would say, a rather embarrassing announcement. I mean, about me. But hi and good afternoon, good evening, everyone. All right. So I have a PowerPoint which I will play and I'll just go over it as we speak. So I'll start with the presentation, and what I'll tell you exactly is how I went about why and how this atlas came about. I'm starting. Just a second. Okay, so the who, which is me, I think Vikas has already spoken about it. Um, I think what helped was my design training has helped somewhat. Even though I trained as a furniture designer, my heart was always into graphic design. And that is what I've been doing so far. Anyway, so I won't go over this. Vikas has already been over it. Now we come to the why this atlas came about. So now all of you know that the Indian Railways is one of the largest networks in the world, the fourth largest. It has a massive route length of 68,000 plus kilometers, which is over 5 times around the equator. 7,300 plus stations as per official sources. I have about 12,000 locations marked. So the difference comes from closed stations, small control sections, cabins, and all, which are already marked there. The railways carry about almost 9 billion passengers every year, which equals to every citizen of India making more than six trips a year. It carries 1.23 billion tons of freight. It runs with 13,000 plus passenger trains daily. And we have over 300,000 freight wagons, 74,000 passenger coaches, and 12,000 plus locomotives. It's 1.3 million employees makes it the world's eighth largest employer. Now, these figures are all from around March 2019, pre-COVID numbers, which may or may not be accurate today, but I'm sure it will soon be back and exceed what it has been. Now, to show this network, what I have been seeing so far are these maps. Uh, this is the map which is there in the current trains at a glance. Okay, this is a reasonably colorful map. It shows some of the, it has the state boundaries, I think. It has some shading, rendering to show elevation, and it has very basic line details. A few stations shown, the grade shown, and they have some this thing of an important versus an unimportant line. This was the map which used to be used earlier. While this was not printed that well, it was a little scruffy looking, but it definitely contained a lot more information. Here you could see double lines, single lines, under construction lines. Even the electrification hatches are there. But slowly these maps have given way to the more colorful ones, which have almost no information. Can I request everyone to please mute themselves? Right. Sorry. Yeah. So this is what used to bother me because I never could find a map which would one hand look good and on the other hand give me all the information which I required. So why did I do the map? See, I'm a rail fan. I have a great fondness for the trains. I like maps. Now, maps are basically information. I like collecting information. I like the way information is represented. A map is all that and much more. So this is why I wanted to, and I decided to go ahead and create my own map. So this is how it started. My first map, the first one which I ever made, was scanned in bits from an old survey of India map. So from that, I scanned it in bits and put it together using Photoshop. Then I traced over it with the mouse and I got all the borders and I traced out the main line and the main stations, whatever was shown. So I had a kind of a vector image with me. From this, I looked at various sources, added in more information. I was a little careless and I put in city names, which I wasn't even sure were railway stations at that point, but there would be one or two of those. So that's how I developed, and I made it into a A2 size sheet, which I used to, at that point, I used to make it available by printing it on two A3 sheets. So this had about 2,000 stations, and this was way back in 2003. This is what it looked like. It had reasonable line detail, single line, double line, under construction, gauge. So you could see all that. The loco sheds were marked. So that was a big difference from what the railway maps of then had. And of course, there were much more railway stations than what the existing maps had. This map, I happened to get in touch with Mr. John Yon of Quail Maps. He is a rather well-known person in Britain on railway maps. He told me that doing something which is just for the few stations is not really going to be anything much. You have to go ahead and do it for the entire network. I mean, put in every station. I was actually shocked to hear him. I said there was no way I would be able to do it at that point. But he said no. I mean, he gave me a lot of support. He gave me a lot of courage, which is when I said, fine, that's what it has to be done. So that's how the first edition of the Atlas was born. So what I did was I took the same map which I had initially worked on, and I made it larger, stretched it. So this is what the first edition was. So I expanded the initial maps. I got hold of working timetables and other timetables from various sources. Uh, I put in the stations. Most of them were put in visually by looking at the distances which were there on the timetables. I could not measure it, so it was just pure visual. I suppose it was reasonable. I mean, for what I was attempting to do, it solved it. It worked. In addition, I had a lot of people, well wishers, a lot of people from the UK who knew a lot about Indian railways. They gave me details about closed railway stations, closed sections. So that's how the first edition was born. So this was back in 2005. So this is the cover of the first edition. This had over 100 pages. The size of the book was 18 into 23 centimeters approximately. I used a two-color printing on this. There was a blue, a cyan, and black. At that time, that was to save printing costs. The whole thing was indexed, so all the stations were on index. And there was small inset maps, which were actually zoom in of very complex areas. Okay, so this is what the page looked like from from the first edition. So this would be perhaps one of the busiest, most crowded locations. And on the right, you can see the inset for Patna region. 5 years later, I started with the next edition, which is the second edition. So this time I had a lot of help from one project I had worked on. So I had some GPS data, so basically in the form of shapefiles. I had some rail fans who had used GPS devices while traveling on trains. So they shared the GPS shapefiles with me. So the second edition had absolutely fresh data. I mean, so these were all accurate alignments. Now, wherever there were no shape files or this thing available, so I would have had to go to Google Earth and trace it out. At this point, I started using this tool called Map Publisher on Adobe Illustrator, which actually helps me to use GIS data on Publisher. I'm sorry, on Illustrator. So anything which I imported using, let's say if I traced it out on Google Earth, Map Publisher would place it on the right spot, exactly on the right spot on my file in Illustrator. So this has been a tremendous help to me. By this time, also availability of information on the internet was higher. So I would have maps and other sources to back me up. I'd also got in touch with more people who had sent me more reports, more corrections, more suggestions. So I had way more closed sections and stations to go with. I also decided to add in further details like roads and airports. I said airports are easy enough to show. Road, I managed to get freely available data. So all these were used and put in the book. So this is what came up. So again, 100 plus pages, same size. The scale was 1:1.5 million. This time we went in for 4-color printing. The track alignments were very accurate, and there were far more inset maps. And this is what the map looked like. So we have color, we have road showing. Even some cities you'll notice which don't have railway stations or marked. So this looked more like a complete atlas which you would see elsewhere. Now cut down 5 years later, 2015, I went in for the next edition, the third edition. So this time I decided to make it on a larger scale. So 1:1 million we went to. Made the book larger so that things would fit in easier. And with every edition, I've been putting a lot of effort in showing closed sections and historical data. This time, what I started doing was I would go over every inch of track on Google Earth to find if there's any sidings which I'd missed, because that siding information, lines which go to cement plants, to power plants, would not, that kind of detail won't be easily available anywhere. So this, I've had to scan inch by inch of track everywhere, all over the country, then traced out whatever I've seen and put it. Of course, with that came the design changes to make it be easy to read. By now, metro railways were showing up in multiple cities, so metro maps were added. This time, I also decided to remove the airports and the roads to aid clarity. Now, the roads, apart from clarity, the problem with roads was there was no really easy way for me to make sure that the details were correct, the crossings were correct. So rather than putting wrong information, I decided to do away with the roads. In that case, the airports became completely pointless to have there, so I removed the airports. So this was what the third edition, which is the current edition, looked like. So 128 plus pages, 4-color. This time we went in for art paper so that the color reproduction and the print quality would be better. We'd need to have finer lines. I also reduced the background color and also that the contrast would be more. So because people had been telling me that the first edition looked better in terms of legibility. So this is what the third edition looked like. Now the river detail somehow seems to have got missing from this image, but that's why it's looking clearer. Right. Okay, now these are, wanted to share with you, Vikas in fact had suggested that I put in some of the well-known sections to show what they look like on the atlas. So this is the first is the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, perhaps the best known section of the Indian Railways worldwide. So at Siliguri Junction, the present line starts, goes northward till Darjeeling. There were 2 branches. The first one was westward towards Naxalbari, and the other one was also northward towards GL Kola. They were both subsequently withdrawn. The other section is, which I personally find very interesting. I'm from Kolkata, so this is the extent of the narrow gauge lines which existing around Kolkata. Like if you see towards the bottom of the map, where it says Kalighat, Dasnagar, Howrah Maidan, that is where Calcutta is. Now, some of these have subsequently been converted to broad gauge. Like if you see the line from Amta, which is on the west, to Howrah, that is broad gauge now. The gray lines show the other broad gauge lines. But most of these lines have just disappeared. So, and there probably hasn't been a greater concentration of broad gauge, narrow gauge lines in any other part, with perhaps the only exception being Gujarat. From what I've heard, near Howrah, this narrow gauge section, which actually served three major lines, that had a lot of heavy traffic. I mean, probably 30 to 40 pairs of movements a day. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact figures. Now, this is the third section which I would want to show. For quite many years, I've heard of this place called Dabhoi. It was spoken of in railway books as a meeting point of 5 narrow gauge sections. Now, if you'll see Dabhoi junction, which is mentioned here, you'll see there is a line from Miagam Karjan which goes to Dabhoi that is still, I think, narrow gauge. There's a line from Vadodara Junction to Dabhoi which used to be meter gauge. There's a line from Dabhoi northward towards Samlaya which is now closed. There's a line from Dabhoi eastwards towards Chota Udaipur that has now been converted to broad gauge. And of course, the small branch from Dabhoi to Chandod, which is actually now converted to broad gauge and extended to the Sardar statue at, sorry, I can't remember the name of the station. So Dabhoi used to see a lot of narrow gauge steam. There apparently was a huge number of steam loco classes there. So that used to be a steam lover's paradise. And elsewhere in Gujarat, there's been a... I'm sorry. All right. So now what do we expect in the fourth edition, which I'm hoping to bring out sometime this year if everything goes out fine? I'm making an even greater effort to reduce color, make it look similar to the first edition. Trying to be more logical with the information that is shown there. Critical information I will try to make it even with bolder, darker colors. Reduce the color effect of the not so important so it doesn't overpower the thing. I have been thinking of going back to a smaller book size, but that is still an open this thing. I haven't decided. A major decision was to include Bangladesh. The Indian Railways almost completely surrounds the Bangladesh Railways. So showing the connections and the entire Bangladesh network was an easy decision. There's a lot of common history. And I've been able to get the data from there thanks to various sources. Of course, a greater aim for accuracy has always been there. That will continue with every edition I do. Now, I have also, this thing with halt stations is sometimes some stations are not marked correctly. Some stations are not even called halt stations. Now, for those who are not aware, a halt station does not have any controls. It is just a passenger stop. So it does not have its own signaling. It does not constitute a block section. You cannot have a crossing there. So I decided to make sure that the current edition showed a block station versus a non-block station. So all halt stations and other non-block stations have been marked properly so that the viewer can make out which is a halt station, even if it doesn't say halt. I've also made a huge effort to make sure that the spellings used are accurate because, as one knows, even station boards can have various spellings in the same station. So I have tried to use photographs wherever available, gone over multiple sources to make sure that I've been able to get this working. So what else is the key focus? So the completeness and what these are. I'm sorry. These are the key focuses of the railway atlas. I mean, in general. So what is very important to me is the completeness and the accuracy of the data which I put. Because like I said before, if the data is not complete, I would rather not show it. For me, having a complete this thing is very, very important. And that is, I think, what every user would want. The historical data I have always been fascinated with in this case. Whatever had been there is no longer there. Looking for them, it's quite a interesting thing because often enough when you look at track alignments on Google Maps on the satellite imagery, you can see lines which have existed even, I mean, which have closed down even 50 years back. Because most of those alignments have either become roads or you can see the embankment. So it's actually a great fun game to guess, which has been a railway line which is not looking at curves, looking at the degree of curves, especially. Okay. Of course, I've always tried to give an up-to-date information. Every day, almost, I sit with the Atlas, go through changes. Friends feed me with data from what the Commissioner of Railway Safety has been updating on an almost daily basis. Every day, one new electrification is completed almost. I have been trying to put in further details which may be of interest to rail fans, like the last edition of the rail fans map. Of course, the design changes to make it easy to use, better layout, better typography, better usage of symbols. See, my point is, like, instead of using a symbol for a loco shed, for a steam loco shed, or for a diesel loco shed, or a symbol for an electric loco shed, I'd rather use the alphabets ELS. So you don't have to worry or remember what it was, because most of us would understand what ELS is rather than a sign or box with which looks like a logo. That would be too confusing, perhaps. The effort. Okay, so I wanted to actually talk a bit about what the effort that goes into the book. I mean, each edition takes days, months to produce. I create the basic file in Illustrator. Everything is done on Illustrator. The boundaries, the national boundaries, the rivers, those I use free to use vector files which are available. That is not my listing. So that is what is done first. I create the initial map of India with the boundaries and the rivers. Then I put in the railway data, add in the vector files. Then comes editing. So whatever railway stations and all have a mark using various sources, which are working timetables, maps, diagrams, my research, suggestions from people, corrections, news reports, everything I correct. So this is a shoot step. This means going over section by section. Like, I mean, it could just take months. Also spend a lot of time in the middle, adjusting the look and feel. Like when I started with the fourth edition, things looked different. In the middle, I changed it about 3 times. Now the look is completely different from what it started off as. The color palette has changed. So this, again, tomorrow I might think that I can do better. I'll change it. So it's a completely ongoing process. It never stops. Then, as I said, the satellite imagery of the entire networks, I visually scan it to add in sidings, new lines. A lot of the new lines I will not have the GPS data of, so those I trace them out. Then the last step comes in the finishing touches in terms of indexing, adding in additional sections, like the metro maps have to be done. A lot of cities are having metro lines, stuff like that. Now I'll talk a bit about the design challenges. As a designer, what I face. Now it becomes a huge, it's really a big challenge to, I mean, given India's variety of gauges, types of tracks, number of tracks, the amount of data which I choose to show, how to show things. So this has taken shape. I have used color, but the problem is I need to use thin lines and colors don't show up well on thin lines. So at one point, I've decided to stick to black lines because they will show up the best and they will be the most visible in a dark condition. A lot of people have told me in a dark train, sometimes we can't read the atlas carefully, clearly. So how do I show various gauges, various states? How many tracks are there? Is it under construction? Is it being doubled? Is it electrified? Is it being electrified? Is it under consideration? So all these have to be shown and in an easy to use, easy to remember format. Next step are the symbols, the stations. Another point. Now, defining a zonal headquarter or a divisional headquarter is easy enough. But what about the others? What about a junction? How about a terminus? How about a closed section? Now, for the last few times, I've been using red to show a closed section. I think that has worked. But how do I show a siding? How do I show a line or a section which is only for freight? How much of yards do I show? How do I denote sheds? Now, all these things are worked again and again and again till it somehow sits into place. And it's changed again after a while. So, what are the challenges? What do I need to do? I have to make it easy to view. I have to make it easy to understand, easy to recall. So, while we have a legend, my idea is not to have people to have to refer to the legend again and again. And of course, we have to be able to do it in such a way that it has to reproduce well in a small size. Therein also comes the typography, the typeface which I use. The trying this thing is to have something which is easy to read in small type and is also condensed. Because all of you who've seen an Indian Railway map or my atlas would know how crowded some parts of Bihar, UP, and Bengal are. So these are the design challenges that I face with each edition. And with new lines coming up, they just get worse. The other challenges. Information gathering. It is always difficult to get accurate information, rather information which is constant. Some may be from restricted sources, some require inside help. I've even had to file an RTI to get some information recently about the stations of the dedicated freight corridor because their website had all kinds of inaccurate information. Also, this is a complete one-man show. Research, I mean, apart from others helping me, everything I do, artwork, layout, the design, printing, the printer does, I publish, I sell it, I send it, everything is done by me. Do the marketing, thanks to my distributors, primarily the DHRS, who have helped me tremendously over since the first edition by helping fund this and I mean by taking a large number of copies which they sell, I've been able to do it. It's also this thing of low volumes and high prices. The prices have to be high, keeping in consideration that the volumes are low. I will not be able to handle, having this at every shop. This is a specialized product. It's not for everyone. Okay. So now learning is fun. I mean, there's a lot of things while doing this atlas I've learned or I figured out. Now this stretch I'm showing you is from the Khandwa to, just a second. is being blocked. To Itarsi section, right? Okay. Now, if you'll see, there was the straight line which is northward from Khandwa towards Harda was the original section. Now, from the section a station called Talvadia to Kirkia, that track was removed. I mean, it was submerged when the Indira Sagar was formed by the Indira Sagar Dam on the Narmada. So they took the line south and they went back and joined at Kirkia. Now, something else happened. They had probably overplanned, and the lake didn't turn out to be that big. So the little stretch between Talvadia and Bir, the tracks continued. So there is still a section on that. I mean, trains run on that section. And now they've made a thermal power station just to the north. So there is a cord line that feeds that from Bir. So these kind of things you learn while, I mean, it's interesting to see changes in alignment. There's also another big change on the change of alignment on the Pathankot to Jogindranagar section because of a lake that came in there. So with every edition, there's something new. Now, working on the fourth edition, I found out there were these little snippets. I mean, it would be interesting for some. There existed a separate alignment between Surendranagar and Wankaner. This used to run quite a bit south of the current alignment. Then it was, I don't know why it was shut down and the present alignment took place. Working on my first edition, I found out about a private industrial line that exists between Farakka and Dalmatia to supply coal. This is quite a long section, over 100 kilometers long. That actually also has a branch to Kehelgaon, but that's a much shorter branch. And this, I think, is a double line stretch. So this is just for hauling coal. Gujarat probably has had the highest number of closed railway sections, most for meter or narrow gauge lines. Assam, on the other hand, had many small tramways. Some were better known, some were absolutely not known to the public. Now, these transported tea, because the tea was the main thing, from the gardens. I think some were perhaps for logging also, but mostly for tea. From the gardens to the railway lines, or more often to the rivers, to be carried further on. And Bihar probably has some of the densest concentration of railway stations, followed by Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. And there have, of course, been many, many unofficial halts. Okay, now we come to a close to the presentation. Just wanted to tell you people, if you can get a copy if you want from my website, Indian Rail Staff, and it's also available on Amazon and Flipkart for domestic orders only. My website handles international orders. One last thing before I close. I've been doing some other map projects. So apart from my railway atlas and my city maps, I've also been I'm sorry, there's a typo. I've created the following. I had also made in the middle of large wall-sized railway map similar to the atlas, like the Survey of India, the Indian Railway maps, but of course with lesser detail than my atlas. I have also collated information from various sources and all about airports and created an online database on the map with airports. Now, I've been a little hesitant about putting it all online because of, I don't know if I should, because they're all military airports and all. But there are tons and tons of airfields and which, I mean, no signs exist today. I've somehow found the locations. So, and there are lots and lots of them. And that's another story. Anyway, so there's my email address if anyone wants to get in touch with me. You can reach me at mail@samit.org. And to end it, I would like to thank you all for your patient hearing and for sitting through the presentation. And this happens to be my first presentation, so please excuse me if I've made any goof ups. Thank you so much, everyone. Vikas, over to you.
Yeah, you'll have to stop screen sharing.
Yes, just a second. Done.
So thank you, Samit, and for all the attendants here. When we first approached Samit to do a presentation, his first this thing was, what will I say? I mean, I've never made a presentation, so but we said that you must, because it's something very few real enthusiasts have done. And so, Samit, thank you very much for taking us through the presentation. Now we'll quickly come to some of the feedback and the questions the people have. Now, there was a chat from Mr. V. Anand. He said, for unknown reasons, Indian Railways have stopped publishing the history of Indian Railways since 1969. And therefore, he says that, you're doing a great job on this. Mayank says that, he has both the first and the third edition and amazing creations, which are a must for any rail fan. Then, there is a question on the recent policy by the government where, they have changed the policy when it comes to mapping. So do you think it will affect the way you are approaching the maps today, or there is no effect on that policy?
I'm not very sure because I think that applies more to online maps rather than I haven't read the whole thing because see there are a lot of gray areas in maps are concerned. Technically speaking, I would have had to get my maps vetted from the Survey of India, but there is no way I could afford that, and it's too much of a hassle. So what I did was I simply wrote that the borders are not vetted, they are not accurate, it's just representational. So that is how I've gone through so far, and I hope I'll be able to keep doing that.
Okay. Rohit has a feedback. Rohit says, great work. I have the second edition. I always carry it with me when I'm on a train. And I am sure he would be looking for you for the fourth edition. Mr. Raghunandan says, staggering effort, Samit. The perseverance, the effort, the patience, and uncompromising search for perfection are truly inspiring. I think the key word here is strive for perfection, because each edition you are adding much, removing something and then adding to make it still more perfect. This is question from Mohan. I think you answered it. Will Government of India's recent move to liberalize map policy and make geospatial data available help you?
I just hope I will be able to get some geospatial data. See, this has always been available. There are companies which offer it free, but they are expensive. So I would not use geospatial data for boundaries and rivers, which I can get free one. That's not so important for me. And for tracks, I already have it, or I trace it and put it. That's as accurate as what they can give.
Geospatial data is going to be cheaper now.
I hope so.
FYI, Samit.
Yeah, there is a suggestion from Rohit. Is it possible to map out railways of the entire subcontinent? It will be fascinating to see the rail network of the entire region, especially the frontier areas.
Okay, my answer to that is I would have loved to do that. Bangladesh is covered. India is covered. I have done a lot of work on Sri Lanka because it was a small country. I decided to do it. What remains is Nepal already got covered because of India. Now Myanmar and Pakistan. I cannot do that because I don't have any contacts to get information from those sources. So if
you get your contacts,
then I'll do it.
Mohan will get you contacts.
Yeah, Mohan. Mr. Anand added this thing, the narrow gauge line south of the Dabhoi. I think the line which was still Chandod has now been converted to broad gauge and extended to Kevadia near the statue of Patel.
Yes. I mentioned that. Yeah. Kevadia, I couldn't remember the name of it.
Yeah. So now Rohit has this thing which was on the Kalakund Omkareshwar stretch, broad gauge. So see, Mau to Kalakund will be preserved as a meter gauge because it's on a different alignment on the broad gauge. So this station is going to remain. There was a question. Feedback from Alok Roy Chaudhary, who says it's a brilliant work. Aparna Garg, praiseworthy the efforts which has gone in making this user-friendly book. We have the previous edition, very educated presentation. Now coming from Aparna Garg, I think it would mean a lot.
Thank you so much.
Apurva Arup Chatterjee says it's an inspirational work. Apurva Bahadur says, in future editions of the map, we definitely need information of the history. So while a track may be double and obviously electrified today, it could have been a single narrow gauge section earlier. Without your map with historical references, this fact would not be obvious. Mr. Anand asked something about block huts. Even I am also not sure of what is block huts.
A block hut is more or less a control section. I mean, to shorten a block section to increase traffic. So they'll have a block hut and divide one section into two, block section into two. So it's not a passenger stop, but it's basically two blocks. So block post or block hut or.
Okay. Mayank has a suggestion. Have you considered making available the map on a virtual interface? We will allow layers of information to be available, including a time shift for a given geography.
We have been thinking of it, but it's a huge change. And the problem here is when you go online, you're expected to provide much more information. Therein lies a huge danger. I mean, then it cannot be a one-man show anymore. But yes, it would do a lot of, I mean, you can add in a lot of. And this would also kind of, cover up what Mr. Anand was saying about the history of the Indian Railways, past and present. It could take over what the information that had.
Prem has a feedback, even more inspiring that it has come from a non-railway person. Yeah, I think that's a big difference, coming from a non-railway person. So how have you taken your hobby and passion to this level? Is this question.
Need. Well, Confucius had a saying, choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life.
Okay.
So I think...
Because, can I interrupt?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You see, the history of Indian Railways is not a narrative history like so-and-so was born on such date and ruled from such and such date. It is basically information regarding the new lines built, lines closed, new tunnels. Somehow it's only pre-1969 that the data is available. Of course, I may be stretching things too far, but today if I were to ask, what is the route length of Indian Railways? I don't think I'll get an accurate answer.
You get too many answers. That's that's every different answers.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Raghunandan has a feedback. Fabulous presentation, so matter of fact and so much of depth. Atulya Sinha says, absolute wonderful presentation. Siddharth Alok says, doesn't look like a first presentation, sir. Loads and loads of information. Thank you for taking out so much of information for a first type presentation. See, Dipesh from Russia has this thing, I think maybe you can help. He says, I have tried ordering from Russia, but I guess they won't deliver here. Perhaps on my next visit to India, I shall visit Summit personally and get it.
Absolutely. Most welcome.
I think you have given the link at the end, so people who want to buy also can.
Dipesh, you can order. I think we should be able to deliver to Russia. There's no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll try again and see if it works. If it doesn't, then I hope I'll visit India soon, and I'll get.
You have to go to the foreign this thing. You have to go to the foreign buyers on my website. On my website, not on Amazon.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Smith.
Okay. I think the last two questions I'm going to ask as a moderator, I think I can ask you. Which is your favorite section, Samit? Now that you have mapped everything, which would be your favorite section?
That's actually a very difficult question, but I will tell you about one line I used to enjoy a lot. Was between Bombay and Pune. So, those were my school days. I used to travel second class, but that is one section I would travel first class on the Deccan Queen. I remember tea used to be served in German silver cups and this thing, a lot of leg room. Could have a nice smoke while thing. So all these things were there, and really enjoyable journey. You could buy chicky, the windows were open, the cool outside air would come in. Lovely it was. So I used to enjoy that journey. And I mean, almost any meter gauge journey. So I used to travel a lot between Delhi and Ajmer. So the journey back from Delhi to Ajmer was nice because that was on one of my favorite trains of that time, which was the Delhi Mail, the Delhi Ahmedabad Mail.
Mhm.
So those two I would say are my favorite stretches.
Okay. David Charlesworth has a very good observation. One, he says, of course, thank you, Samit. Good to see you and a super presentation. He loves the motorcycle posters behind you.
That's my wife's. My computer is, I mean, like, sorry to say, but my internet is off completely. So I didn't even try logging in from my computer. This is my wife's laptop, and that's her posters.
There is a question
Yeah.
from Vishal. Can you please give a brief about the chord line?
Which chord line?
I think it should be the
Howrah
grand chord
Bardhaman.
line. I think, yeah.
Grand chord or Howrah Bardhaman?
I think should be the grand chord. I mean, you can talk about both the chord lines.
Okay, before I say this, I must tell you, I usually have no retention in my head as far as memory is concerned. Some years back, I met Biswarup Basu. All of you must be, many of you would be knowing him. So his
and
son.
this side one.
Yeah.
Close the gap. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened is his son met me for the first time. So he was very excited after seeing my atlas. So he asked me questions. I couldn't answer any of his questions because I didn't remember exactly visually which station came afterwards. So he went away very disappointed. So I will probably disappoint the same way by answering. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of answer he is expected, but see, chord line by virtue of definition is a shorter stretch. The main line was taken on a longer route. The chord line to cut the distance was by a straighter route. Now the grand chord line is between somewhere near Sitarampur and Mughalsarai. The original line went via Patna. The shorter route went via Gaya. Now, if you're talking about the Howrah Bardhaman, that's the other chord which I'm closely associated with, being in Kolkata. That's between Howrah and Bardhaman. One route goes via Bandel, the other one goes direct. So, I mean, if you can ask me something specific.
No, I think that would be basic this thing. So thank you, Samit. I mean, there's a feedback from Raghuram sir.
Yes.
He met you, I think, a few years back.
Yeah.
And he's looking forward to your next edition. So thank you, Samit, for taking out time to talk and interact with all of us and talking about your book, The Atlas. And I am sure people who have got a very different insight into this aspect of rail enthusiasm. Because most of us, either read books, collect memorabilia, ephemera, but this is something very few people attempt to do. So thank you. And we look forward to interacting with you again.
Thank you, RDS, for the opportunity, and thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. So for everybody, we will quickly now share question for the next quiz. There's one question, and anybody who answers it first gets to win, and then we move on to the next session. So I'll quickly share the screen and share the question for this round of the quiz. So the question is, Bhavani Junction was on which railway system or zone? So you can write the answers on the chat box. So we are asking about the section or the railway system or the zone. So we had so far Northwestern Railway, Northwestern Railway. No, you can still try. Yeah, we got a correct answer. It is from Bill Reeves and it is Delhi Deccan Railway. So congratulations, Bill. We look forward to your participation in the quiz as we go along. Now, just to remind everybody else that we also have a master's quiz, which is still open till 5 o'clock today. The link is there in the chat box. Please participate and keep participating in this quiz also, which happens at the end of every session. Over to you, Mai.
Thank you very much, Shamit and Vikas. Okay, since you've handled the quiz so efficiently and so quickly, Apurv Bahadur, if you're online, can I make a small request? We have a small treat for the audience who are waiting for the next session to begin, which will begin on the hour. Apurv is a gentleman who needs no introduction whatsoever. A wizard behind the camera, besides a lot of other skill sets. Apurv, can I please request you to share with us a few photographs of your choice for an audience that will truly appreciate them.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hear and see.
See me, okay. Can you see this? Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So the time is very short. I'm just going for a very short session, which I had built for another audience about how the Bhorghat looks. Okay, so I'm just going to rapidly go through. This is the subject of our affection. This is not Bhorghat, but it's nearby. It's near Daund. This is it. Trains are an object of beauty, and we love the trains, whatever the variety there is. So I'm going to specifically talk about Bhorghat, which is between Lonavala and Karjat. And I'm just letting you enjoy the views. These are the bankers which are returning back. This is the train which is climbing, and you can see the sheer slope that there is for this thing. And this is the end of the slope at Khandala. These are bankers which are coming into Khandala, viewed from the downslope end. And actually the train which is being pushed is an EMU. You can see the pantograph which is raised here. And that is because no train in the Ghat section goes without banking power. So that is what you're seeing here. Here's the train again coming into Khandala, and it's a very magical sight that first the pantograph comes up, and then you see the headlights coming up, and then you see the windscreen coming up. And it's almost as if it rises from the ground because of the sheer gradient. This is the same train which is going ahead. This is the one of the few trains which actually stop at Khandala for passenger pickup in the down direction, which is going towards Pune. Another train at Khandala. I'm just trying to show you views of Khandala as I see it. The same train going away. This is about 100 kilometers from Pune. Sometimes the trains, and there is a sunset. Bad things happen in any railway operation, and this is, but you know, Indian Railway has to work 24/7. So what they do is they just throw the coach off, and it would be recovered later by another set of crew. But the most important thing is that the trains will keep going. You know, they have to keep working. This sadly got demolished last year. It's the GIPR reversing station. Most of the people do not know how it is connected to the railways, but there's another presentation about it, and then we'll talk about it in some other day.